The European Union, the UK and Japan have urged action against famine in Gaza. The European Union, Britain and Japan have issued a statement saying the humanitarian suffering in Gaza has reached unimaginable levels. Famine is unfolding before our eyes. These are words in a joint statement signed by the European Union's top diplomat and foreign ministers from 24 countries, including Canada and Australia. And here on NewsX, well, we will continue to bring you all updates coming out of that conflict as we get them. We now move over to the United States and their foreign policy, where America and China have clashed at the United Nations over the Panama Canal, with Washington warning that Beijing's influence over the key waterway could threaten global trade and security, and Beijing accusing the US of using such claims as a pretext to take control of the canal. The exchange took place at a Security Council meeting chaired by Panama's President Jose Raul Molino, who reaffirmed his country's ownership of the canal and its permanent neutrality. The meeting focused on maritime security challenges, including piracy, transactional crime, and cyber attacks on ports. Acting US Ambassador Dorothy Shea raised concerns over what she called China's outsized influence in the canal zone, warning it poses a risk to global commerce. She also criticized Beijing's maritime claims and actions in the South China Sea. China's UN envoy Fu Kong responded by praising Panama's management of the canal, stressing China's respect for its neutrality and accusing the United States of fabricating lies as a cover to gain control. Fu also condemned what he called US economic coercion and military presence in the region. President Molino closed the session by repeating Panama's commitment to sovereign control of the canal, calling neutrality its strongest defense against any threat. Let's listen in to what China and the US had to say at the UNSC meeting.
美方炮制谎言，无端攻击中国，无非是为其控制运河制造借口。中方坚决反对经济胁迫和霸凌行径，敦促美方停止造谣生事。美国是迫害南海和平稳定的最大搅局者。美方在南海地区部署包括陆基中程导弹在内的进攻性武器，频繁派遣大规模舰机到南海搞军事侦察和演习。在别国的家门口耀武扬威、横冲直撞，无非是想把南海搅乱，服务美国的地缘战略。
The United States, however, remains concerned about China's outsized influence over the Panama Canal area, especially over critical infrastructure and port operations. China's expansive and unlawful maritime claims and aggressive actions demonstrate its threat to maritime security and commerce. The United States rejects such claims and stands with claimants in the face of China's provocative actions and intimidation.
We're now joined by William Yang, who's a China analyst. He joins us live from Taipei in Taiwan to discuss this further. William, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. The acting US ambassador, Dorothy Shea, has raised concerns over what she has called outsized influence by China in the Panama Canal. Obviously, US President Donald Trump has said that he wishes to take over the Panama Canal once again. How do you analyze this situation and the stances of the two ambassadors that we just heard there?
So I think the situation in the Panama Canal is basically a reflection of the US-China great power competition around the world. And in recent years, it has increasingly focused more on key international infrastructure projects and also key waterways or key passageways that both sides view as important to take control in order to actually be able to have influence over maximizing their own maritime transport interests. And we know that the U.S. has increasingly been very vocal about Chinese influence in key infrastructure projects around the world. And they have, in recent years, tried to work with like-minded partners to try to squeeze out China around the world. And we have also seen other like-minded countries like the European Union proposing similar infrastructure projects like the Global Gateway to compete with China's Belt and Road Initiative. But at the same time, maritime transport and maritime control over maritime security remains a very important part of China's global ambition and global strategy, because we know that the Chinese see these as an important way for them to export their commodities to all corners around the world, and at the same time using these infrastructure projects to connect, basically build up China's influence network. And this is basically being spearheaded by the flagship Belt and Road Initiative. Even though over the years there have been controversies about the impact of these projects on local host countries, but continuously, I think China's ability to outbid other countries with the funding that they can provide and the loans that they can provide allow China to continue to be in a very powerful position in the leading, in the race of competing for global infrastructure competition.
William Yang, thank you very much for your analysis on that situation. Pleasure to have you on the programme. For our next update, we move over to Europe, where a wildfire in Turkey's northwestern Çanakkale province is now largely under control after forcing the evacuation of over 2,000 people. Helicopters and planes continue dropping water on areas where smoke is still rising. Residents returning today found burnt facades, broken windows and collapsed roofs. Some homes remain structurally sound but suffered heavy damage inside. A local firefighter said the blaze spread rapidly due to strong winds and scorching temperatures. Let's listen in to him.
kadar yangına müdahale ettik. Şu anda da aracımız bozuldu. Yani aracımızın ustasının gelmesini bekliyoruz. Yorgunuz. Allah bir daha böyle bir Çanakkale böyle bir şey yaşatmasın.
This fire began on Monday, tearing through forests near the city. Reports say that Turkey has recorded its hottest July in 55 years and faced hundreds of wildfires this summer alone, which were driven by extreme heat, dry air and strong winds. Well, that is all that we have time for, but